Well, well, well. What a season it's been. I mean, oh my gosh. How can I put this up? And even though they ended last Sunday, but it's one of the best seasons in years. So, if you have not seen the update video on what I would be the special video, this is what it is. My kind of mini thoughts on the 2020 Cleveland Browns season on the NFL. So, you can tell, obviously, with the scarf, I am a Cleveland Browns fan. And I usually would wear this a lot of the time in my videos during the winter season. And so, if you're about curious on how I became a Cleveland Browns fan, it's very oddly not because of the the team itself. Like when I get to the NFL or something, like you know what I mean. Like when you first get interested in the NFL, it was very ironically through a computer game called Backyard Football. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's from the guys from Humongous Entertainment, the same guys that had the company specifically, that did Putt Putt, Pajama Sam, Spy Fox, Big Thinkers, and Fatty, I think it's Fatty Bear, I believe that's the name, unless I'm not mistaken, but, yeah, and the Backyard Sports was obviously another thing. Granted, I think baseball was probably the most fun to play with, but I did have a good time playing with football. And I think the reason why I choose the Cleveland Browns a lot in that game was probably because the unique of the helmet. And by the way, that's just not a real helmet. But it is real, but it's not actually. It's just usually like a collector's item or something like that. It's not a real life helmet from the players, but got this like when I was a kid, so yeah, like cards, a little figure, hats, even a big neon sign in the back, and of course a blanket that I've been having. I actually have like 3 blankets, a couple of shirts, like gloves, of course a scarf. This hat was new, like I mentioned with the gloves, like they are new as well, and of course we almost always win. And that's what basically happened with this season alone. Oh boy, so, when it came to this season, it was very unique. Because obviously this has to mainly do with, of course, since we got a brand new coach. Since Freddie Kitchens was fired in the last season, and of course we have now, Kevin Stefanski. And, whew, there's, like, many things to talk about. So, I'm also going to mainly go through the season specifically, but not like any of the individual players or stuff like that, even though Baker Mayfield is probably the player of our team. Because, of course, when they think who is the biggest important player of the team, it's usually the quarterback, and that's what he is. So, obviously, we didn't have any of the preseason games because of the pandemic, because it would have been at the Chicago Bears, at the Green Bay Packers, and then we would have performed at the against the Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is Brady's team, new team specifically. But going into the regular season, of course, at the very beginning, we know it wasn't going to be a great start because it was going to be at the Ravens. And if there is any team that you would think that would probably be what everyone's least favorite team is when it comes to our little division between the 4 teams, specifically the AFC North, it would easily be the Ravens for many people. Even fans on one particular team that many people are going to be asking me. Well, we'll get to that, why I'm not a fan of that team. But so, obviously, it wasn't a really great start. It was 6-38. So, yeah, we are not good with the Ravens. But then, of course, came in the next 4 games. We, of course, went against the Bengals. Pretty close. I don't have, like, the game summary. It's like, let me just, yeah, here it is. So, we were basically kind of doing well during the, almost for the first half, and like, the Bengals almost really did went well during the fourth quarter, and it ended up being 30-35 with our first win of the season. And then came in, of course, the Washington football team, formerly known as now the former Redskins team, that is now been taken off of their name because of course, controversies. And it was looking at the scoreboard, because I believe if I remembered, I didn't see all the games on television because some of them would not be airing on either Fox or CBS for me because I have Xfinity. And obviously we did win well in the second and fourth with 17 points for both the second and the fourth. And yeah, Washington was kind of big during, like, they took the lead, I think, in the third quarter, with 7 in the first one, and then the 13th in the third. But we managed to defeat them with a total of 20-34. And then, of course, came in the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, they almost kind of catched up in they took the lead in the first quarter, but then looks like we did crush them during the second and the third. And this is probably another one that I didn't get to see on television. With 24 in the second, 10 in the third, but then we only got 8. But the Cowboys did catch up with 24, and it ended up being 49-38, which did mark another win for the season. And then we got into the Indianapolis Colts. And we have a pretty interesting one because they were in the lead with 7-3 because we had 3. And then we got 17 and they got 3. They got 10 and we got 7 in the third. And then they got 3 and we got 5 in the fourth. So 23-32. And that's obviously another important game. But now let's talk about the infamous team. And probably many people are wondering in the comments, Brian, you're a Pennsylvanian. Why aren't you not supporting, like, the Philadelphia Eagles, or more so, the division that you're kind of only in, the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, keep in mind, it was the backyard football game that made me choose the Browns because of their unique colors of helmets. Even though my favorite color is blue, but I just love, like, I don't know, I think I just love the average design of just, like, a helmet, per se, but, but, so, of course, I knew for a fact that this was not gonna go well, and it's very ironic. It's a big, massive rival here in our family. I don't usually mention a lot about my family, just to keep their personal life, but my dad is a massive Steelers fan, and my mom's a Cowboys fan. One of my sisters used to be a Dolphins fan. They're both older than me, but, so yeah, when it comes to my team versus my dad's team, it was not going to do well, because, oh boy, and I'll be honest, I knew for a fact that I didn't want to watch it, because I knew for a fact that we're going to lose here, because it is the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger alone. And so, yeah, they really crushed us. They got 10 in the first, 14 in the second, 7 in the third, and the fourth, and we only got 7 in the second, which makes it 7-38. And still the curse of the Browns and Steelers rival at Heinz Field, it was still a bit of a curse. And then, of course, it was a pretty close game in the Bengals. Now, the thing was, of course, it didn't air, but we did got to see the last minutes, because I believe it was the Steelers game that was being aired. I don't have the Steelers game on me. I'm going through the Wikipedia page. Really, really close. Look at this. Like, we got 3, they got 7 in the first. They got 10, we got 7. We got 7, they got 3. We got 20 and they got 14 with a very close match of 37-34. And it was like the Bengals had the ball and I think it was an incomplete pass and we ended up still getting the win. Oh man. And I believe this was also around the time when Odell Beckham Jr. Was out of the season, if I'm correct. And every time I think of when I say Odell Beckham Jr., I get confused because I keep thinking of Leslie Odom Jr., you know, the guy who played Aaron Burr on Hamilton. Yeah, I get confused with him a lot of the time. And then, of course, we get another lose with up against the Raiders. We were basically tied throughout the end of the third. They were 6, and we were 6, and then they scored 10 in the fourth, and it was 16-6. And then came in the Houston's game. The Houston's game, and then we were doing good with 3. They catched up with 7, but we still got 7, and it's 7-10 as the final. And then came in, of course, the Eagles. What was the Super Bowl champion, like, I believe 2 years ago? I think it was 2017, or... No, it was 2018, I believe. And, yeah, 17-22. Like, they kind of really catched up during the fourth, but it was the second quarter, we got 7. They got 7 to the third, we got 5, and then both teams got 10 in the fourth. And then came the Jaguars, and another very close game. We got 7, they got 3 in the first. Both teams got 10 in the second. We got 3, they got 6 in the third. And then we got 7 and they got 6 in the fourth. Just up by 2 points, specifically. 27-25. But then came in the Tennessee Titans. And this is one of my favorite games of the season. This was like... since this was aired on the CBS for me, here in Central Pennsylvania, we did get to see the game, and oh my gosh, the first quarter, we got 10, second we got 28, they are starting to get up with 7, we got 3, but then they started to catch up with 14 and 14 for the second half, for both quarters respectively. But we still managed to get that win with 41-35. It was like a very close game. Like, there were so many, like, I believe interceptions or fumbles, if I remember this. But then, of course, even though we've been doing good with the wins, we know something was coming up again. Our rematch with the Ravens. I did watch most of the game on ESPN, but then I was like, well, it's the Ravens. I think that means we're going to lose. But it was pretty close from what I heard of the fourth. I didn't watch the rest of it because it was a Monday, and they're like usually Mondays are not usually a day to sleep in, so or sleep in late. So no, going to bed late. That's what I meant. Tied up with 7-7. Then they got 14. We got 7. They got 13. We got 6. They got 13. We got 22. But still not enough to beat the Ravens with a score of 47-42. Then we were in the Giants, which was what many people consider the worst team for the AFC region, if I'm correct. They crushed us with their second win of the season. With they got 3, we got 13 the second, and then they managed. Never mind. I'm sorry. I got confused. It's the Jets. I was confused with the Jets for a second. See, this is why New York Giants and New York Jets are completely different. Just almost sounds similar. So, no, this was another victory for us. And then it was the Jets. So having both New York competing both against the Giants and the Jets in 2 specific weekends, a bit odd. They took their second win with 23-16. And the Giants game before that was 20-6. But then we get into the next game, which is the final game of the regular season for this at the Steelers. Against the Steelers. They were pretty close, it looks like, because we led with 7 in the first quarter. They got 6, and we got 3 in the second. They got 3, and we got 7. We got 7 in the fourth, and they got 13. It was so close, but we still managed to win with 24-22, and something unique happened. After that game happened, our team was finally in the playoffs. The first time the Browns have been in the playoffs since the 2002-2003 season. And for those who have not seen a video called The Browns Haven't Made the Playoffs, which is a parody of We Didn't Start the Fire, now that video really kind of is now dated now because it finally happened. The curse of them to get in the playoffs kind of eventually was lifted a bit. But nothing can beat most when it came to this AFC wildcard playoff. And we were rematching the Steelers again 2 weeks in a row, but it would be at Pittsburgh. And when we're at Pittsburgh, that is not good. But then, the first quarter. Oh my gosh. Now, before I do mention anything, I forgot, obviously, one of the biggest things when it came to this game, another problem that was about this game, was our head coach ended up being quarantining because he ended up getting tested positive for the virus. So he had, of course, had not to be involved during the team, unfortunately, so he couldn't coach that game. But even with him not there, a shocking upset probably for many people. Like, before the pregame, when I was watching the pregame at NBC, most of the course, like those people in the discussion, I think they're correspondents, I believe, like the hosts of those events, they all think the Steelers was going to win this. I think most of them. But look at the first quarter. Just massive amount of errors came in from the Steelers, especially from Ben Roethlisberger and some of the others. Oh boy, that first play alone, when we got a touchdown, jeez, 28 at the first quarter. And I was still thinking the Steelers were going to win this because it's still only it was only the end of the first quarter. They got up with 10, and we got 7. The third, they were catching up with 13. We got 13, and we got 14 in the fourth. They were really catching up. But we managed to beat the Steelers at their field. Which, a historic thing. First playoff win since 1994. And the first time they have beat at the Steelers field in years. But then, of course, came in this game and the last game from last Sunday where we lost the division playoff from the dominant Kansas City Chiefs. Although one of their main quarterbacks ended up getting a serious concussion, I believe during the first or the second, I don't remember. I believe that was the first or the second one. I don't remember, but I know it was in the first half. We were kind of catching up during the second half, but not enough because of, I would say, mainly the second quarter when they got 13. It was pretty close, but this season was big. Definitely one of the best seasons for the Cleveland Browns in many, many years. Some people think it could be because of the new coach, or many people would say Baker Mayfield is just probably one of the most important people to the team. And, like, you have Myles Garrett and Olivia Vernon with the, like, AFC Defense Player of the Week or the Month, and even Baker Mayfield, of course. And, obviously, Joe Benito, Nick Chubb, and Myles Garrett will be in the Pro Bowl. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how they're going to do with the Pro Bowl, because it's probably going to be the last game I'll watch, because I usually don't watch the Super Bowl, because I know many people would watch it for the halftime thing, but not really. So as a Cleveland Browns fan, it is just, like, amazing to see how this team has went from downhill for many, many years to having not just a winning season, with the winning season of the regular season being 11-5, but making it to the playoffs, winning the wild card division, and which managed, like, specifically beating the Steelers at their field for the wild card playoff, and make it that far. That hasn't happened in years. Yeah, the Ravens also were in the same position as we were in the playoffs when they lost to Buffalo. Oh, Bills. It's just like an awesome season, to say the least. And I'm very curious to see how next season's going to be. We don't know how it is because we don't know what's going to happen. So, but this is an amazing season, I just want to say. With that said, this is going to be probably one of the fewest times I ever talk about the Cleveland Browns on my channel. If you're new to the channel, you can hit that subscribe button, even though this is not really much of a sports channel. This is just my personal thoughts on the season overall. Hit that like button. Also, let me know in the comments, what is your favorite NFL football team, or if you're a Browns fan, what do you thought of this season as well, especially that wild card playoff. I want to hear your thoughts about that playoff game against the Steelers. And, yeah. With that said, awesome season, and as I said, we almost always win.